Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present our spectacular show of podcast magic and imagination full of Disney wonder, news, and pop culture. It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast with Jenn Novotny and David Dollar.
Welcome back, Jenn.
Well, thanks, Dave.
How was the Mexican holiday?
It was lovely. It was Mexico, so it was nice and warm. It was apparently a little chilly the week before I was there, but it was like in the 80s. It was very humid. If anybody ever sees pictures, I don't know if I will post them because my hair was I saw
some of the pictures. It's your hair. You basically had a Simba thing going on. It was huge.
I mean, it was a lion's mane.
Pretty funny. So,
and it would grow. I mean, I would be, and I'm like, oh no, this is fine. These curls look organized. I would walk out and it was immediately like weird
well, for those of you who don't know, who've never seen Jenn, you should actually go to YouTube and you can see the both of us. And she's the one to look at, not me. But Jenn has this massive mane of just luxurious hair. She's one of those people that you never see with bad hair. But it was funny to see the pictures because those of you with thick curly hair out there, when the humidity hits you, I mean, it was frizzed.
There's nothing you can do.
Honestly, like if I let my hair grow out longer, which I'm getting it cut tomorrow, so you can see it's as long as it's been in a while. If I let it grow out, it actually will frizz because it gets curly.
If you have curl at all, and normally it will hold. Like if I do a blowout or whatever, it'll hold. But not in that kind of humidity when it's like just, yeah.
And this is the Jenn's Hair Podcast. I guess I should introduce the show.
I mean, yeah.
This is the Main Street Electrical Podcast. I'm Dave, and of course, this is Jenn we're talking about here. And Jenn is back from Mexico. Last week, we had Quasi Producer Heather stepping in to fill the shoes of Jenn and doing her great job last week as well. Good episode last week.
And Heather also has great hair.
Heather also has great hair, too. It's really long and thick and also very bushy, and so but hers is straight and yours is more of a curl twinge.
Mine has more of a curl, yeah,
and yours is more purple towards the
well, yes, mine is purple.
So yeah, again, the hair podcast. So Jenn, how did you Disney this week?
Oh gosh, you know what, that's actually a great question. I mean, I guess really I have to say that I Disneyed this week by doing a little bit more prep work for our agency retreat in December. I'm working on finalizing some things for that. So, which is at Disney World, of course.
Nice, of course. And I'm looking forward to that because it's the third on my 3-stop tour of Orlando because I went beginning of October. I'm going back next week, and then I'm going back again in December. So it's like 1, 2, 3. And it's funny because at the beginning of every year when Steph and I are sitting down, we're talking about the year as a whole, what's coming up, and what do we need to plan for, And I always mention Disney. She's like, well, I don't know. We'll probably go one time. I don't think we can afford to go more than once. And I'm like, Steph, dear, every time we say that, we go like 4 times. I was like, let's not even say we're not going to Disney more than once because maybe we only go once. I don't know, but we're going to go like 3 or 4 times. And this will be my 5th time in Orlando, I think in December, which is ridiculous. And I don't even own a travel agency. Unlike Jenn, who goes down there all the time and has a dream home in Grand Floridian. And
I do.
She's
cool.
She's not the manager, but she's on the board, I'm sure.
So, probably something like that.
I Disneyed this week by a discovery. I found out that I get to do a VIP tour next week. I am so excited. I am going to a conference, and I mentioned this last year about this time, and even the year before about this time, called The Thing. My friend Terry Weaver kind of runs it, and it's a conference of authors and podcasters and marketers and bloggers and singers and writers and just people come together of all professions. They come together. We do some speaking. And it's a great time to network, a great time to kind of get your name out there, whatever. And I learned stuff. One of the things I'm trying to learn this year is social media marketing. And honestly, Instagram, the best times to post. How many hashtags do I put up there? How can I do pictures versus those kind of questions that nobody seems to know how to answer, or the people that can answer are like, if you give me $150, I'll send you this 45-minute course. And I'm like, I don't need to know it that badly. And so, and maybe one day I will, but I'm going to go to this conference, but it's part of the conference that I'm getting to go to. I get to go on a VIP tour on Thursday, my first VIP tour, starting in Magic Kingdom. I have to go through my shirts to figure out which one to wear for the day. I'm not really sure. I don't know. So yeah, we're real excited about that. So that's awesome. That's gonna be awesome. So, Jenn, any other news? How is the house? Go ahead and give us a house update since we haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks.
Oh, house update. All framed in. Most of the windows are in. We are just waiting on a couple of the doors, which I'm guessing because they're not in and everything else is. I'm just guessing they don't have them in yet. I'm guessing it's a supply chain issue. There's shingles on the roof. And yeah, they're getting ready to start moving indoors and doing the plumbing and electrical and HVAC work.
Nice. So at what point in time do you think you could comfortably say, you know what, by this time we likely will be moving in or likely be ready to put our stuff in there?
By end of April.
End of April.
I would think. Yeah. So we're
that's
very
really
exciting.
cool.
So we still have some stuff to coordinate. It's a lot. We're juggling a lot.
Would you consider, I mean, obviously for the money, but would you consider this your dream home? Like this is kind of the home you kind of designed and built, and this is the home you're going to retire in. And, in 50 or 60 years when you turn, a 70 or whatever.
Right, exactly.
When you get that old and such.
Yeah, when I get that old. No, we are building this as this, we will not move again. We will die in this house. That's basically what that is.
That's kind of our home here. We have a small home here in Birmingham, and we couldn't afford the house if we bought it now because of the way that the neighborhood and the area has built up so much here in Hoover, Alabama. And it's a little 3-bedroom, it's modeled after old Key West and Charleston and those kind of houses, those cottage houses
cute.
and stuff. And we always thought maybe we'd move out and to a bigger home one day. And no, we're kind of here, and we're happy with our little home, and it is what it is, and we couldn't move anyway. Like honestly, if I were by myself, I probably would end up moving to Florida at some point because I love Florida. I love Orlando. I love Florida.
Sure.
But my wife's like, nope, it's too hot, too many bugs. We're not doing it. Not gonna do it. Yeah. Plus, of course, we got Campbell. He's got support. He's very supported here, so yes, this is where we shall stay as well. So
yeah, we thought about, and maybe eventually, we'll have a place in Florida or something, like a retirement, snowboarding sort of situation.
Always stay with Quasi Producer Heather as she builds Heatherland down there, which will be nice. Walt Heather World. And so, real quick, just a few little notes here of news. Fantasmic is officially coming back on November the 3rd. Last week we mentioned it, but we weren't sure. We had been hearing the rumors about the 3rd, but yes, now it's official. November 3rd, its first show back. The Pocahontas scene apparently is gone. They will be replacing it, I believe, with some Frozen stuff and some new stuff.
I'm not surprised, honestly. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad because I don't care about Pocahontas. Who cares? So I'm good with that. The Blizzard Beach is also reopening on the 13th, the same day Typhoon Lagoon is closing. Now, nobody freak out. They do this every year.
Every year.
Once it gets winter, one opens, the other closes so they can refurb. Blizzard Beach just got done with the refurbishment. They're adding some Frozen touches.
Yep.
The way the news was put out there, it made it sound like Frozen would be everywhere. It's actually going to be like in the kids area, like Tykes Peak and a few other places, the little statues and stuff. Of course, they're going to be having some holiday Winterland things going on there at Blizzard Beach through the 31st. You get to meet Santa in his tropical attire. He'll be there for that. There'll be some seasonal offerings. Of course, there's some food because Disney now has this thing where every other week they're sending a foodie guide to celebrate whatever holiday is coming up. We just got a Thanksgiving one like yesterday. Thanksgiving foodie guide or whatever, and I feel like Flag Day food and Arbor Day food, and one of our cast members, Wendell, got new tires. Here's a foodie guide for that. I mean, just anything they can think of. Here's a foodie guide for it, which I'm fine with. I love it, but I'm like, okay, Disney, settle down on the foodie. Just because you colored a cupcake purple instead of blue,
that's not really foodie. It's just purple cupcake.
Exactly. It's a purple cupcake with a little cookie on top. Still good, but and finally. Epcot has finally released their Candlelight Processional restaurants, and this was actually came out like a week or two ago. But
because packages are on sale.
Packages are on sale. I did want to mention this: the 8 restaurants. It's not all of them. It's just
it never has been all of them.
No, and I think there are some people because I've had people contact me. They're like, "Hey, we want to do the Candlelight Processional package. Can we get San Angelo? Can we get Coral Reef? Well, can we get other restaurants?" Yeah, and I'm like, "Well, Hacienda is not available, and there's." Whatever Marrakesh isn't available because it's not all of them. Here's the ones that are available. However, Beer Garden, Coral Reef Restaurant, Garden Grill Restaurant, Le Cellier, Rose and Crown, Akershus Royal Banquet Hall, Regal Eagle Smokehouse, which I don't think actually I know for sure you cannot reserve that one.
No, you have to
do
go
it there.
Day of, and it's not guaranteed either.
Yeah, and I would do it early. get in there
I would go early
Yep.
in the day.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and purchase. And the way it works too is you purchase a package and you go eat at whatever dining time you're allotted. You can be at 4:30, 5:30, 6, or noon. If you go to lunch, they give you either a wristband or some sort of signifying something. It used to be a wristband. I don't know if now it'll be on your Magic Band or ticket or whatever.
At one point, it was a pin.
It was a pin. Okay.
Well, not like a fancy pin,
right?
Or like a sticker. It was something.
Right, but it's some sort of signifying mark or something. They put a big red X on your hand, like a club, and so you'll be able to go there and you'll have special seating for.
I don't know. I didn't go to clubs. I don't know what you did growing up. I didn't go to clubs.
Honestly, I didn't. I really wasn't invited to many clubs. So, but I do know people who have pictures of the word on their forehead because somebody with the word no on their forehead would pass out and fall asleep, and their hand would be on the forehead, and then like you get on with a marker that's blood on the forehead. I never had that because again, I'm not a drinker. I didn't drink very much in college or high school, so I never really was a club person. But yeah. So anyway. Show your stuff, show your sign, your pin, your whatever it is that you have, and they will give you some special seating there at Candlelight Processional, which is going to be pretty exciting. Edward James Olmos, I believe, is one of the newest ones. He has backed out. He's had to cancel. Cheetah Rivera is returning as well this time around. So it's really exciting. Some of these are filling up pretty fast, by the way. So we tried to get Whoopi Goldberg for a client not too long ago, and it's not available. She's just too popular. Cheetah Rivera, not a lot of people know who she is. Honestly, she is available, so you can get her.
There you go.
Whatever. I just got one from Marie Osmond this morning for a client, which is pretty
Did
exciting.
you really?
Yeah, I never thought I'd say I got dining with Marie Osmond. Something I don't really say a whole lot as a travel agent. Finally, Elton John, his retirement tour is finishing up here in North America. I don't know the dates overseas, but because they're saying this is his final North American concert, I'm assuming there is some more dates to do somewhere like in Europe or in China or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure because where he's originally from, I'm sure it'll end up.
Yeah,
he'll end up in his home country. I mean, I can't imagine.
His final North American concert date at Dodger Stadium on November the 20th at 8 p.m. Pacific time, which of course is 11 p.m. Jenn time over there on the East Coast. It will be streaming live on Disney Plus. I'm pretty excited about this. I am going to go to this. I'm going to watch this concert. I will watch it. It'll be 10 o'clock my time. I'm a big Elton John fan. He's one of my all-time favorites. Probably top 10 artist for me all time.
That's fair.
My dear wife Steph has seen the concert when he toured with Billy Joel, and a little tiny part of me resents her for it, even though she did it before we even met. Still,
are you going to resent me as a friend if I tell you that I went when he was in Pittsburgh 2 or 3 years ago?
It's one of those that I never got a chance. Well, I can't say I never got a chance to see him. He's been in this area. I just didn't take the initiative to do it. The 3 or 4 artists that I've always wanted to see in concert. Billy Joel, he's still touring. Elton John, which that's out. The Dixie Chicks, now the Chicks. Garth Brooks, which came to town not too long ago for this rockin' concert here in Birmingham.
Really?
And I didn't know anything about it. Somehow I missed it entirely until the week of.
Really?
And if I hit Facebook that night, just about everybody I knew was at that concert. Garth Brooks, probably, if you do the stats and you look at the lineup of albums and the songs I know by heart and the meaning behind the songs or whatever, probably my number one artist of all time. Also, always wanted to see Michael Jackson. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But yeah, those are the artists I've always wanted to see. I'm too old to see Taylor Swift in concert because I don't know that Steph would want to go, and I'm not. And it might be kind of creepy if you went by yourself. Kind of weird. Somehow my tickets would be between like a slumber party of 12-year-olds over here and a couple 13-year-old girls over there, and here comes Chris Hansen from Dateline going, "Why don't you have a seat that stool right there? I want to be part of that." No. So randomly, are there any artists that you have not seen in concert that you would love to see in concert?
Oh, that's a good question.
Once. And I don't even like concerts that much. It's just too much trouble for me.
It has to be. I mean, for me, it has to be someone I really want to see for me to go to a concert. Quite honestly,
like Hanson, maybe.
Yeah, they're not on my list. They're not on my list. Elton was on my list, and I did get to see Elton. Celine was on my list. I saw Celine. Of course. I mean, both of those were phenomenal.
Steph saw her at the Grand Floridian for Christmas.
Gosh,
she was like third balcony up, looking down upon Celine Dion. So
Celine, like that is one person I would fangirl over.
I would go see Celine Dion. Now Stephanie would go with me, but even if she couldn't, I would go. I would be happy to go see Celine by myself if I had.
That would not be creepy. That would be
fine. Say that I've seen Celine. It's one of those. It's one of the artists of like. I like to say that yes, I have seen her in concert, or I have seen them in concert, or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't say that about Nickelback, But I would say that about Celine Dion.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is I've seen a lot of concerts I'm so glad I went to, like Iron Maiden. They're amazing in concert, which is random.
In a Jenna DeVita.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't do that song randomly.
Actually, they'd be more Jenna Gata DeVita. But anyway, yeah. So, they'd still be playing if they did that song. That's a long song.
Oh, it is a very long song. No, they were fabulous in concert. I don't know that there's anybody on my bucket list currently that I haven't seen in concert. Like, basically, if it comes around and I want to go to see the person in concert, Billy Joel, I've not seen. I would not mind seeing Billy Joel in concert. Yeah. I have not seen him yet. So.
I wouldn't mind seeing Sheryl Crow either. I love Sheryl Crow. She's one of my favorites. She's not one of those that I would bet the farm on going to see, but I wouldn't mind seeing Sheryl Crow. Concerts are weird for me because I'm now of that age where it's not that I don't mind crowds because I go to Disney. Of course I don't mind crowds.
Right.
It's just the sitting in the car, trying to find a parking spot, getting in the place, getting out of the parking deck and whatever. I go see the WWE events when they're in town, and they're usually smaller events. And even that, I'm like, oh my gosh, we've waited 10 minutes in this car line to get out of this garage. And even then I'm like,
that's the part that kills me.
So,
that's the part. And what's funny is I would rather go see probably there's different musicals or whatever that I would go to see before a concert,
Same.
That's just how I am. Although getting out of the freaking parking garages is just.
So I guess we should talk about Disney some, huh?
Yeah, we should maybe do that.
Speaking of bad things like parking garages and high concert tickets, let's talk a little bit about the villains. Not just the villains, but the villain songs.
Yes.
Now, the idea we had was to create a villain song top 10. That you would create a top 10, I would create a top 10. But what I'm seeing sometimes when we do top 10s is our lists overlap. And when you have a limited amount of supply like this,
there's not a lot.
There's a list I found online. I don't even know how definitive it is, but even if it's off by 5 or 6, it only gave me 41 Disney villain songs. Some of them I'd never even heard. There's a few that I'm like, is that really a villain song? Or does that just happen to be the tune playing when the villain's doing his thing? I don't know. So I decided, what if we reach out to some friends of the show and say, would you mind submitting your top 10 list for the show? And what I will do is I will line them up all, and we actually had 8 lists total, myself and yours and 6 other people, and I'll get to who those are in a minute. But I lined them up all side by side, all of them 8 in a row in an Excel spreadsheet because I love me some Excel spreadsheets.
Oh, you do love you an Excel
and
spreadsheet.
I kind of ranked them out basically. Like I would take a song and say, okay, well, this song was on 5 lists, 6 lists, and this was number 3 on this one, number 5 on that one, number 2 on this one, 10 on this one, 4, and I would kind of rank them together, divide them up a little bit, and figure out what the average ranking was for these songs.
Did you have to make any judgment calls? The average of these numbers is...
sort of, in the fact that a lot of songs were listed at least twice. Some were listed 3 times. I had to make a call on how many times a song would be listed in order to make it into the top 10 guaranteed. I decided if it's 5 out of 8, if it's 5 or more, it's going to be in there. I do the average ranking. I didn't want to do that with 4 because that's half the group. And I feel like that's a little skewed. So I kind of took those and kind of looked just to see where they were on lists and where the highest rankings were on this list. And so I've got, out of the top 10, I've got basically your bottom 3 was listed on 3 lists. 1 song listed on 4 lists. So 3 songs listed on 6 lists, 1 on 5 and 2 on 7. Do the math there. That's 10, I promise. Somewhere in there, if I'm looking correctly. But I kind of haven't ranked out. So I have a top 10, and this is an average ranking of the people that submitted their list. And this includes...
And I have not even heard these lists yet.
No, you have.
David is the only one.
I did this an hour ago because I was still working on my list and figuring out how my list factored in. And I did my list first before I really pulled everybody else's, so it wouldn't be influenced by everybody's. Skywalking Through Neverland, the podcast out of California, they submitted theirs. Friend of the show, Rob Lott, who is from Who Did You, and also he's a Cadaver Dan. He's a cast member, 20+ year cast member. Both Susie and Matt from the Imagineers podcast submitted their top 10. Each had their own top 10 list. Quasi Producer Heather, of course, did hers. She turned hers in. You and I have ours. And the I Am Geek guys, they did a compilation list. They sent me 10 from their podcast as their list. So we have 8 total, which I'm really excited about. But before we get to the official list, 2 things I want to do. First, Jen, I want to run through our lists real quick. And just to kind of see where...
Wait, do I need to pull mine up? Do I need to find mine?
You go ahead and pull yours up, and I'll look at my list real quick and just kind of list it. Kind of just, I won't talk about it a ton, but kind of a 10 through 1. My number 10 was Love Is an Open Door, which is a little weird. Like, is that really a villain song? We'll talk about it.
I debated on that one too, but I mean, it is.
It is because it's, well, okay. So also, no, this one did not make the top 10. So we can talk about it.
So we can talk about it.
So actually, no, what? Take that back. It did make the top 10.
Okay, never mind. We'll talk about that later.
Number 9 for me is Le Poisson from Little Mermaid. I think that song is just so much fun.
Oh, that's a good one.
Le Poisson, I just think that's really fun.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Number 8, and this was listed on a few lists, the Imperial March from Star Wars. It sort of counts. Star Wars was done well before it became a Disney property.
Okay,
but
that's
it's
fair.
so known. And when you hear that dum 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 da dum dum, you think the dark side. You think, I don't want to say the word evil because that's such a dark word, but you think the bad guys, the villains.
I didn't even go with instrumental, but that interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So number 6 on my list is Kidnap the Sandy Claus, which I love that song from Nightmare Before Christmas. Kidnap the Sandy Claus. Da, 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 da. The Mob song was my number, was the next one, which I think is a highly underrated song, by the way, from Beauty and the Beast.
I'm gonna agree with. We'll get to
Love that song. I actually mentioned to Steph yesterday. I was like, "What are your favorite villain songs?" And she mentioned some of the big ones that we all know, and she was like, "And the Mob song." She goes, "And nobody talks about the Mob song. The Mob song is fantastic.
It's fabulous.
It's great." It's great. Friends on the Other Side is also on my list. Dr. Facilier, one of my favorite villains. I think he is such a cool villain. Mother Knows Best from Rapunzel, from Tangled, Gaston, Poor Unfortunate Souls. And my favorite villain song is Be Prepared. And I went back and forth on those two. Be Prepared and Poor Unfortunate Souls. I was like, what do I do here? But I went with Be Prepared for a number of reasons we'll talk about later. Jenn, what is your top 10?
All right. So number 10 was the Siamese Cat song from Lady and the Tramp. I think because I loved that movie growing up, and I don't know why that song would just get stuck in my head.
Those cats are they're so bullies. They're bullies. They're so mean.
They are so mean.
Just like underrated villains. Just
very underrated villains, because I'm like, they're like sneaky villains.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah. And then number 9 I had as Mother Knows Best. Number 8 I had Love Is an Open Door, which again we'll apparently be talking about. Number 7 I Want to Be Like You, which is from Jungle Book, King Louis, who was the villain in the movie. And I love that song. And I love jazz. So I don't know if we're going to talk about that one, but another one also from Jungle Book, Trust in Me, sung by Ka the Snake. And
neither one of these songs made the top 10, so we can talk about it if you want. Trust in Me and I Want to Be Like You, neither one are in the top 10. So,
I think that was, of course, just the era it was written in, and there was a lot of jazz music. Even like the whole scat section between King Louis and Baloo. The
music was really cool.
The music in Jungle Book is amazing. I love it. Of course, this would be the animated version. Okay, this is not the live action version. So I just think both of those, and they didn't even jump to mind right away until I was like looking. I'm like, all right, I'm not thinking of some villain songs. Let me just Google a list of the villain songs, and I saw those. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love those. They are actually on my iPad, on my iPhone.
I like it.
Especially I Want to Be Like You. That one particularly.
All right.
Number 5, Shiny from Moana. And then Cruella de Vil, which I went back and forth on this one, but I felt like it counted because it's literally
it does count. It's one of the few villain songs that are not actually sung by the villain. It's sung by somebody else describing the villain. But it's a great song.
Again, it's that era of music, and I love the jazzy sort of, Roger singing.
Because I mean, if she doesn't scare you, nobody will. So
right. I love the whole way that song comes into play. The Mob song, which honestly, I almost want to switch it with my number 2 because I do love the Mob song. It just the way Gaston does it and the way the reprise and everything, it's so good. Poor Unfortunate Souls was my number 2, and Be Prepared was my number 1.
Such a good song. So some of the songs that were mentioned in all these lists that did not make the top 10, and by process of elimination, you might know what may be coming. The Savages from Pocahontas. I'm not familiar with that song very much.
Oh, I actually considered that one. It would have been one of my honorable mentions.
And Mine, also from Pocahontas as well. Again, songs I don't care about because whatever. Hi Diddly Dee from Pinocchio.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mentioned there. Trust in Me, Siamese If You Please, which you mentioned those, but also mentioned on other lists. The Fidelity Fiduciary Bank song from Mary Poppins.
I didn't even think about that one.
That was brought up. I believe Rob Lott actually brought that one up, and so it was one of his top ones.
That's a great one.
That was one of his top ones.
That would have been in my top 10 if I would have thought of it.
It's a good song. Heffalumps and Woozles, that was one on Susie's list.
Okay.
The Pooh song. The Prince Ali reprise. Towards the end there, Jafar does not get his songs. And actually, fun fact, they had written apparently 4 songs for Jafar to sing. Like, he wouldn't have sung all of them, but he had written 4 different songs to fit into the movie for him to sing one of those, and they scrapped all of them. So basically his reprise on this is kind of Jafar's chance to have a little musical moment in the Aladdin movie. I think some of them may have gotten into the musical. I don't know for sure. I didn't see the musical.
I have seen the musical. Jafar does do some singing in the musical. Now, whether it's the same song, I couldn't, I don't know.
Someone mentioned "Chillin' Like a Villain." I believe that's from The Descendants. That was actually from one of Skywalking's Headless Horseman song from the Ichabod Mr. Toad.
Yes.
And of course we had some that we mentioned already: "Kidnap the Santa Claus," "Les Poissons," and then so those are the ones that are kind of mentioned now that are not in our top 10. So let's start on our top 10 here. And I'm not going to give you the stats on every single one of these going, well, this was mentioned this many times, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
but
sure.
The number 10 song is the Mob song.
Number 10. Interesting.
Yes, number 10. Okay. Number 10, of course, is the song written by Howard Ashman. And it's kind of fun because I don't want to say fun when I talk about this. This makes me sound terrible, but the story behind this is interesting because Howard Ashman had AIDS at the time. He died of AIDS a little bit later on.
Yeah.
As he was, before he actually got to see Aladdin, before he won tons of awards for Aladdin. And so he wrote this song and looked at the Beast's curse as kind of an allegory for AIDS, because remember, this is the late 80s, early 90s. There was such a stigma on the AIDS crisis at the time that it was a gay disease. That's basically what the public sentiment was. And so the Mob song was written kind of as an allegory of how people get so riled up with non-information.
Really? I had no idea.
Because Gaston is running around instilling fear into the villagers about the Beast, talking about how the Beast is going to kill them. And the mob, without even paying attention, is like, yeah, let's go get him. Let's go get him. And at one point, Gaston even says, "Screw your courage to the sticking place," which is a line from Macbeth. So he really getting into this. Exactly. That's from Macbeth. Don Hahn, who's the producer from Beauty and the Beast, said that the song was written as a metaphor for the stigmatization against people with AIDS. Now, that's a lot reading into the song. This song is also just a fun song too. So there is some of that. So I don't want people to be like, "Oh my gosh, this song has such a deep meaning." The people who wrote the song obviously had a purpose behind it, but it is a fun song. And to me, it's more than just a fun song. It's this is going to be a hard song to put together because you've got a lot of voices on this song. You got a lot of things happening in the song. And this is the culmination of Gaston leading there. And there's a great meme somewhere, and I'm sure I've got it on my phone amongst my 14,000 meme folder files, whatever. There's a screenshot of one of the pieces of furniture holding a bat behind a wardrobe. And it's like, this guy is about to take out a villager with a baseball bat. I mean, it's a quick screenshot. It's like, this guy is about to screw somebody up big time.
He's holding
like a weapon. It's like, dude, what the heck? So that is number 10. The number 10 song, the compilation of our villains countdown, number 10. Number 9, "Love is an Open Door."
Okay.
Which we talked about this a second ago. And this is an interesting song to be on this list because it's a fun, romantic, oh my gosh, we're so alike, whatever kind of thing. But once you think about it, it's a song written and sung. It's a song sung by one of the guys singing it is manipulating her to the core.
Yeah.
Like while he's singing
hardcore.
Oh, great. This is so awesome. Our life has been such a series of whatever, blah, blah, blah with you, say goodbye to the past. She's loving it. She's like, oh my gosh, this is my guy. And he's like, I'm trying to manipulate Anna so that I can control things and I can take over. It's
dark if you think about that.
It's a really, really dark song.
I mean, that's the ultimate narcissist song too.
Written by Christina Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez for Walt Disney's Animation Studios, Frozen, which is of course a great movie. And I think Frozen is one of those things, like if you have a song that's out there somewhere, then you just hear it all the time and you're like, oh my gosh, not that again. Eventually you come back around and going, okay, you know what? That's a pretty good song. Same thing with Frozen. For about 3 or 4 years, it's like, oh my gosh, no more Frozen. Stop with the Frozen. Now that we're 10 years past, I think it's like, okay, you know what? We can step back now. The Frozen hysteria has died down somewhat for the most part. This is a good movie. This is a really good movie.
It is a good movie.
So that's number 9 on our list. Number 8 on our list, Hellfire from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. This was mentioned several times in people's lists. Now, towards the bottom of every list, I don't think anybody really had the gumption to put it towards the top.
I think it is one of the most evil songs.
Yeah.
Evil. I would agree with that. Yeah. And I respect it as most evil. I don't like it. I mean,
No.
I do like because like I appreciate it, but it's yeah, that's dark. It's dark.
Yeah. Some of the lyrics. Well, so this to set it up for people who either haven't seen Hunchback, bless you, and you're lucky, or people who haven't seen it in a long time, like myself, and I don't think I'll ever see it again because
I
just
love
don't
it
like
as a
the movie.
musical.
The music itself is
The
great.
stage
Topsy-Turvy
version,
song
the
at the
music
beginning
is
great.
amazing. Oh, it's
God
so
Help the
underrated.
Outcasts is great.
Gorgeous,
That beautiful
gorgeous.
song. This is one that
The
Frollo, the
Bells of
villain,
Notre Dame
sings. So he's coming through this cathedral and he's singing about basically how Esmeralda is now in front of him and he lusts after her. Basically, that's what it is. He's
that's what
lusting
it
after
is.
Esmeralda, and he is wanting Esmeralda. He has desires towards her or whatever, and he's blaming her for turning towards darkness, and he's begging to be saved. And he sings, "Destroy Esmeralda. Let her taste the fires of hell, or else let her be mine and mine alone." That is dark. That is really dark.
Dark. It's very dark.
So, this is actually considered by critics to be one of the best Disney villain songs out there, and people have even said, and I say people as in like critics, I've read different theories on this movie, that if they had taken the movie in the Hellfire direction with the other songs, the film might have been even better. Lean into the darkness of the film itself, lean into the darkness of the villain, because he really just dives deep into this. And then,
he is one of the most evil villains. I mean, honestly, I feel like he's
like sociopathic.
He was, and
weird.
I'm just going to throw this in. Because of course I saw Hunchback when it came out. I saw it in the theaters and I remember thinking how much I love the music and that I was like, I don't know how I felt about that movie. I saw it on the stage, the musical version. Not that many years ago, maybe five or six. I loved it on the stage.
Okay.
I loved it on the stage.
That.
I prefer the stage version to the movie, interestingly enough.
Interesting. Well, maybe I would too if I saw the stage version.
If you saw the stage version, you might.
Yeah. Not a fan. Number 7 on our list. The Oogie Boogie song, the main villain song from the film Nightmare Before Christmas, as sung by Oogie Boogie and his prisoner, Santa Claus. Now, this is a song that he's basically he's bragging about the fact he has captured the Sandy Claus. He's got him, and he's going to turn Christmas into Halloween and so on. There was a lot more to the song than what you see in the film because of time constraints. There was an instrumental break that there was going to be some dancing and stuff. Had to cut that. They had a different verse to our second verse to the song. They had to cut that because they were going to do a sequence so they were going to have bugs dancing all over Oogie Boogie, and it was too hard to animate. The technology in the early 90s, they could not get it animated correctly, so they just cut all of it after storyboarding. But if you can actually hear those versions of the songs with the second verse and everything on the soundtrack.
Interesting.
So yes, the Oogie Boogie song is there, listed by how many people? Listed by 4 people on our 8 lists. Listed with actually 6. And this is where it's kind of a little wonky here because the next several have 6 features on there. There's one that has 5 that ranks above these, but because of the ranking, it's going a little higher. So, number 6, the song we referred to earlier that was not actually sung by the villain, Cruella de Vil.
Yes.
Sung by Bill Lee as the voice of Roger Radcliffe. And also has been re-recorded by Dr. John for the 1996 live-action remake. And singing about how evil Cruella de Vil is. She doesn't scare you, no evil thing will. To see her is to take a sudden chill. Cruella, she's like a spider waiting for the kill. Look out for Cruella de Vil. So, good song, very jazzy. And this was on your list as well, Jen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love this one. Jazzy, fun. I have a story randomly because, in my previous career, I taught music. Yes. And at one point I got moved down I was teaching middle school and then they moved me to the upper elementary school, which was a 456 building. And I was given the responsibility of doing the after school musical for no pay, interestingly enough. But it's fine. But actually some fabulous kiddos. And I did a lot of Disney Junior musical theater, and we did 101 Dalmatians. I'm sort of wearing spotted clothes today.
Your puppy print.
My puppy print. But yeah, I did 101 Dalmatians. And as I recall, the person who played Pongo that year, and this is a kid I cast as Mowgli in 4th grade, and then I cast him as the lead in 101 Dalmatians in 5th grade. In 6th grade, I believe I don't remember if he did it in 6th grade, but if so, anyway, he went on. He is now Bach on Wicked, on stage. He's in Broadway.
Wow.
He's I like to joke that I discovered him. I just saw the talent.
So
That's
you
all.
got him on Broadway. That's impressive.
I mean, I really can't take any credit for that, but I did cast him. And I remember teaching the Cruella de Villain. There's a lot of little chromatic half steps in that. So it's interesting to teach kiddos to sing that, but it was cute. It was really cute.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can you name one other song from Disney that's a villain song that's about the villain, but not sung by the villain, or maybe even sung to mock the villain?
Oh, that's a really good question.
This is a really tough question.
That's a tough question. I mean,
like, surprised if you pull this out.
Given some time to sit here and go through my mental list, I probably could. I mean, right now in the course of this podcast, I don't know if I'd come up with it. I'm sure
there is more, but the only one I see listed is The Phony King of England from Robin Hood.
That's a good song on Robin Hood. And that's why I didn't include it, because I was like, well, that's not really kind of, but I guess it kind of falls in the Cruella de Vil.
Kind of, sort of. Another song, this is the number 5 on our list here as we count down the top villain songs from across the podcasting realm, our podcasting realm anyway. Tangled, Mother Knows Best, as sung by Mother Gothel, voiced by Broadway and film actress Donna Murphy. A much acclaimed song. People love this song. A lot of critics considering this the best song in the movie, and it might just be.
It's a really
taking
good
place
one.
in the very beginning of the song. Rapunzel is ready to ask Mother Gothel's permission to go find the floating lanterns, to go see the lights, to get out. And Gothel, whose eternal youth and beauty relies on Rapunzel, and her hair is like, no. So she sings this very upbeat, very fun, very lyrical, just do kind of song. But when you read the lyrics, it also is very dark. It is like all the evil things that are going to get you. She calls Rapunzel fat. She calls her just all these little things naive and blah, blah, blah. And of course, at the very end, she's like, and don't ever ask to leave the tower again. And it's like, ooh. Oh. The song, of course, written by Alan Menken. We're going to keep going back to him. Lyricist Glenn Slater, and I looked at it. He's done a lot, but nothing that I'm like, oh my gosh, he did this. But he's done some stuff for Disney and some other things as well. But of course, sung by Donna Murphy. Many more doing Rapunzel as well. Great song.
It's a great song.
It's a really kind of a creepy song. It's
very creepy.
Like, I didn't think about this one until I saw on some lists and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I went back to YouTube and I watched a lot of these on YouTube, so I'm kind of familiar with them now. And I'm like, oh, this is great. I forgot how good this song was. That might be my favorite song in the movie. It's a good song.
It's not my favorite in the movie, but it's a good song.
So that's number 5 on the list. Number 4 on the list. This was listed by 6 of the 8 countdowns that we have. And that is Friends on the Other Side from Princess and the Frog. It's got a very Poor Unfortunate Souls vibe to it. Where not only is the villain singing, but the villain is singing basically about, what can I do for you? I'm going to help you out because I'm awesome. Even though my motives are not on the up and up, I can still help you out just a little bit. And let me sing the song for you. Keith David is the guy who sings this song. And you would know his face. If you didn't know his name, you'll know his face. He's been in so much stuff. The first thing I think of is he's the stepfather in There's Something About Mary, which I'm not telling my Disney audience to go find. These little kids don't be like, what's Something About Mary?
I forgot he was at that.
But he's in that. But he's been in a ton of stuff. And he's got this real deep voice like this. And just, I actually watched a little 2 or 3 minute segment on him on YouTube about singing and just how he's like, he loved the character. And they didn't know he could sing. They wrote this character for Keith David and had that booming voice, but they weren't sure he could sing. So they brought him in. They were like, I guess we should find out if you can sing. And he nailed it. He just nailed it. Friends on the Other Side. Just such a good song. So
that's a creepy villain too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very, very creepy.
Oh villain. Yeah. Because he's like the voodoo guy.
He's in the voodoo, right?
Guy. The song written by Randy Newman, who of course has done a lot of the Toy Story stuff and a lot of other stuff. So he's done that. And the song is sung as he is getting Naveen and Naveen's assistant, I can't think of the guy's name, basically kind of give over his card so he could turn him into a frog. And then of course he reprises later on whenever Facilier meets his very dark demise. And so a little scary for primetime TV there. So number 3 on our list, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Fantastic. It's
a great song.
Great song here. Sung by Jesse Cordy, who played Gaston. I'm sorry, Richard White played Gaston. Jesse Cordy played LeFou. And of course, it basically is the song about they're trying to cheer Gaston up. And Gaston is like, I don't understand why Belle doesn't want me. And of course, there's obviously he doesn't want you because you're an idiot. But Gaston sings songs about how he's good at spitting and interior decoration, and he's so healthy and how much he can eat and everything. And so it's from this song that he hatches a plan to send Maurice to an insane asylum in order to force Belle to marry him. So all that happens. Now it's fun because Gaston is a character that he's so brutish, and he's almost like he's more narcissistic and selfish than he is evil. And of course, he has a turn there towards the very end, of the live action movie, especially, but with the cartoon, And it's funny because, and I go back to the mob song in the live action Beauty and the Beast from 2017, which, by the way, is a movie that I forget about. I liked it when I saw it.
Yeah, it's fine,
but I have no interest in seeing it again. I'm just
it was fine. That was just kind of how I was. I was like, it's okay.
A fun fact. Back to the mob song again. Howard Ashman actually Alan Menken changed the lyrics a little bit of that song in the live action because he wanted to set it up to where LeFou would finally turn on Gaston to realize what a sociopath Gaston was with the mob song. Played out really well in the live action. I don't think it would have played out really well in this one, but this is a fun song. This is a fun villain song.
It's a fun song.
I mean, it's a fun song to sing. It's a fun song just to be a part of. It's a good song. We love the song. All right, so top 2. Let me go ahead and go back to the top 10 again. Number 10 was the mob song. Number 9, Love is an Open Door. Number 8, Hellfire from Hunchback. Number 7, Oogie Boogie. Number 6, Cruella de Vil. Number 5, Mother Knows Best. And number 4, Friends on the Other Side from Princess and the Frog. 3, as we just mentioned, Gaston, Beauty and the Beast. Now, I'm guessing that you know what the top 2 songs are going to be in whatever order. You're not sure, but
I don't know the order, but yes, the top 2 are going to be Poor Unfortunate Souls and Be Prepared in some order.
Yes. Number 2 on this list is. And these 2 songs are the only ones listed on all 7 or all 8 of the countdowns. Number 2 is Be Prepared. Now, this was my number 1 song.
This was my number 1 also.
This was actually number 1 for a couple of people, but it was also on down the list for some other people. So that's why I didn't, which of course leads to what our number 1 song is going to be. It had a much higher average ranking.
Average ranking. Got
higher.
It.
Anyway, we'll get to that. Be Prepared, sung by Scar in The Lion King. A fabulous song.
Oh, Jeremy Irons
is incredible.
Amazing.
There's a phrase that movie fans use to describe certain people that just take over the movie and just own every time they're on the screen. They're like, they just own that screen. Yeah. And we say they're chewing the scenery because they're just eating this thing up. That is Jeremy Irons to a T. He chews this scenery. He owns this whole.
Oh my gosh.
Everything he owns it. It's funny because Jim Cummings, who also does many other voices, including Winnie the Pooh, is the voice of Ed, the crazy hyena.
Right, the crazy one.
In this, exactly. Shinzi Banzi and Ed. Well, he actually sings the last part of this, Be Prepared, because Jeremy Irons' voice gave out. Like when he was singing it, his voice finally gave out because he's not used to that baritone. They used to sing like that. So Jim Cummings had to step in and kind of basically that whole that final verse, to prepare for the coup of the century, that part. That's Jim Cummings.
Prepare for the murkiest.
Exactly. That's him. Especially when he gets to that, you won't sniff
you won't get a sniff without me.
That's Jim Cummings, because Jeremy Irons' voice had given completely out and could not finish the song.
Interesting.
Also interesting about this song, and you may know this already, but once I say this, if you don't know it, you're going to understand it. The army of the hyenas in the song itself, when they're goose stepping in front of Scar, they're kind of doing whatever, and he's perched over an onlooking cliff. That is a nod. I don't want to say nod. That's the wrong word. That is a look at Adolf Hitler and the 22 beam of lights pointing straight up, resembling the Cathedral of Light in the Nuremberg rallies. So that's basically like a Nazi propaganda whole sequence right there from Triumph of the Will. That's what that is like, because you've got this evil dictator taking over this army. This army will do whatever he says to do to take over a land that is not theirs.
Oh,
that is where this comes from.
So that's where they got the imagery.
Exactly. When you watch it, you'll see that imagery. And look, I had thought that before with the high stepping. I'm like, you know what? That looks
the
like
high stepping, right?
Black and whites I've seen. But yeah, there's a lot of that imagery going on there.
Interesting.
Because and this is us digging deep into the song, so don't feel like you have to think Nazi when you hear the song perform, whatever.
But the song is like.
But yes.
The song is amazing.
The song is amazing, and it is Jeremy Irons. That is just prepare for the coup of a lifetime. It's just, it's delicious. It's a delicious song. If I use a weird word to describe it, it's just, you just eat this song up. It's so
Scar
good.
has always been one of my favorite villains.
Yeah.
I don't know if it should. I mean, that was that golden era, though.
Yeah.
The Renaissance, this golden era of Disney animation. And, I'll always say like Maleficent is, one of my more favorite villains, but Scar is always right there. It's like, oh, but yeah.
And you can tell how hard the song was to perform. And I know there are people who could perform the song all over the place. I know they do it in the Broadway musical.
Oh, the Broadway musical, yeah. I mean,
but for the live action, they had actor Chiwetel Ejiofor do it, and you can tell that he doesn't have the range of the voice for it because he mostly speaks it, and he does a great job. It's a great performance of the song itself. It's different though, and you just miss that. I know your powers of pretension. You just miss that real, just evil. Just I don't know.
It was just no. I don't know. It didn't have it for me. Jeremy Irons embodies that character, so if it's not that, I was like,
yeah. So that leads us to number one, and that, of course, is going to be Poor Unfortunate Souls, written by Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, performed by the Disney legend, the unforgettable and just passed this year recently, Pat Carroll, sung to Princess Ariel by Ursula in order to get her to sign over her voice for Ursula to take over. Fun fact, a few facts behind the song. Howard Ashman actually recorded his own version of the song, singing the Ursula role.
Interesting.
To send it to Pat Carroll to convince her to take the role. And it did. It did. And she actually has admitted that she actually borrowed from some of his inflections in his version of it to use in the song itself. And it's noteworthy too, because her incantation at the end of it is actually sung rather than just recited. Beluga, Savuga, come into the Caspian Sea, larynx, gladitis, max laryngitis, la voce to me. I'm reading it here. I didn't know this by heart, by the way. So
I'm gonna say, I don't know if I can even do all of that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's you actually can hear Howard Ashman's version on a 4 CD set called The Music Behind the Magic. I don't know where the set is. I haven't seen this set somewhere, but I feel like I should go find it. His version is actually on that set. But yeah, she sings this song, and it's legendary. I mean, it's my favorite part of the Little Mermaid ride. It's my favorite song in the Little Mermaid movie itself, and it's just so good. It's so powerful, and it's just
does. Just like her, I mean, you're talking about her inflections. I always just remember going, true, yes. You can just picture.
Now you're the lyricist. You're the vocal chick. I can't sing, so I hear these songs and I'm like, okay, that sounds good, or maybe that doesn't sound good. Out of some of these 10 songs, are there some of these that you pick up on that are just super hard to sing, or maybe that would be it takes somebody fairly gifted to really pull this off?
I mean, that's a good question. And I think all of these performances are wonderful. Right. If you're talking about, if we're going to talk about the mob song, and you mentioned it'd be hard, it is hard to put that together because there are so many people. Each individual part isn't necessarily hard.
Right.
It's it's the blending of all of it together. I'm going to say vocally, the most difficult for somebody to pull off might be Cruella de Vil, again, because of those chromatics that they have in there, because not everybody can sing. I mean, if you're a musician, you do chromatics. Okay, that's what you do. But for a more untrained person, that can be harder for people to do because of the jazz chords, and it goes places that maybe you're not expecting it to go with kind of, I don't want to say key change, but it kind of goes places that you're not expecting, basically. You mentioned that Jeremy Irons couldn't Be Prepared is actually a difficult song as well, just because of it is a darker sounding song.
It's so powerful too. The way
very
he sings
powerful.
It is so just,
ragey. That would be the style of singing a trained singer, that's going to be easier for them to do than, again, someone who's maybe more of an amateur singer. But I mean, all of these are great. They're all just great songs. Poor Unfortunate Souls too has a lot of different personality in it, so that requires a very good performer to really pull off.
Looking at this list too, honestly, if I had to pull some out, honestly, I would say what Poor Unfortunate Souls, Be Prepared, Friends on the Other Side, and maybe even Mother Knows Best have in common is if you put somebody else in that role, it changes the song.
It does.
It just does. I feel like Gaston is a song that Richard White sang, but I feel like somebody who sounds like that probably could pull that off. Oogie Boogie, Hellfire, even the Hans part of Love is an Open Door. We so identify Pat Carroll with Unfortunate Souls and Jeremy
Mhm.
Irons, Be Prepared. Like if I hear it sung by somebody else, I'm like, that's just not the right version. Don't
I
give
know
me that. Don't give me that crap. Give me some Pat Carroll. What the
exactly,
heck are
which
we
is
doing?
why you're like
Yeah.
talking about the
Yeah.
the live action. Who sang
Jim
in the live
Cummings.
action?
Jim
Yeah,
Cummings. Yeah.
no, in the live action.
Oh, True to Edge of 4. Yeah.
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 I was like,
Yeah.
it wasn't Be Prepared. I was like,
Right.
I'm writing that one out. That's not. In my head, I just listened to Jeremy Irons and it was better.
Love it. So that is our top 10 list, folks. And thank you again to our podcast that contributed. Let me run through these real quick. Of course, Skywalking Through Neverland, Richard and Sarah, they have a podcast. Does a lot of Star Wars, Marvel, Disney, Disneyland and stuff. Find it on iTunes and all your podcatchers. The Imagineers with Matt and Susie, find that on iTunes as well and all your podcatchers. I Am Geek has their own podcast. You can find that on all your podcatcher places. Rob Lott, he's down at Disney World. If you ever see a cast member as Cadaver Dan or a Dapper Dan or, even Hoop-de-Doo, although Hoop-de-Doo, he's actually a six-gun slocum. But if you see him walking around, he has Rob on there. Talk to him. You might be the Rob Lott. Of course, Quasi Producer Heather also giving her input as well. Let me thank you for that too. So this is a good list. This is a solid list. And so now we're not going to play the segments of the music on here because sometimes I don't mind throwing a little bit of music here and there, hoping nobody will get in trouble. But because we have so many other people associated with this cast, I'm not going to do it. But if you go on the show notes, I'm going to actually link to all of these on YouTube. So you can go to the show notes at themscpodcast.com, click on the links of each one, and you'll be able to go to the YouTube version of it to hear the songs itself. So good list. Jen, is there anything on this list as we finish? Anything on this list you would have changed? Anything you're like, I'd rather have this song than that song? Or
I'm a little disappointed that we don't have My Jungle Book on there, but I'm not sad with any of the ones that made the list. So yeah.
Very cool. And finally, let me just go ahead. I want to say this too. Imperial March was Skywalking Through Neverland's number 1. The Headless Horseman was Rob Lott's number 1. Be Prepared was number 1 for myself, for Jen, for Susie, and for Matt. Heather had Mother Knows Best, and the I Am Geek guys, Love is Open Door was their number 1 song. And so, yes, there you go. Jen, where can people find you on the line on the interwebs?
You can find me at Upon a Star Jen, and my personal Instagram is at Jen_Novotny.
Perfect. Find me at The Magic on a Dollar on Instagram. Find me at Disney on a Dollar and Magic on a Dollar on Facebook, all those type places. Of course, find Upon a Star Travel. We are your travel destination. We're your experts and all that good stuff about Disney, Disneyland, Universal, the cruises, Royal Caribbean, Disney Cruise Line, dropping those requirements, which is awesome. Overseas, all inclusive, so and so forth. I had like a couple get back from Jamaica last Sunday and another party get back from Cancun on Monday. So we're doing a lot of stuff. We're not just doing Disney.
We are.
We love Disney. We love our Disney stuff as well. So of course, find us at the MSC podcast online. Find us at gmail.com. That is our email address. We'd love to hear if you agree with the list or you don't agree with the list. Love to hear your feedback. Twitter, Facebook, all the usual type places. And you can hear the show on Audible. I always forget to mention that, but you can hear the show on audible.com. And finally, I do want to mention this. We were on a podcast a few weeks ago, a Journey to Imagination podcast run by a teenager, 15 years old, named River. Loves Epcot, loves Figment or whatever. We got to be on his podcast. Rob Lott was also on his podcast recently. He's actually had a few people on his podcast, had a good time on the podcast. So go find it. One of the things I told him to do, I was like, dude, you've got to start putting your link on your stuff when you promote your stuff on Instagram. I was like, because you can never find the show. So go find that Journey to Imagination podcast. And you also can find him on the internet and on Instagram and all those kind of places as well. So Jen, happy Halloween to you.
Happy Halloween.
When we meet again, we will be into the full swing Christmas season because 2022 is going by like great. 2022 is flying out the door like money at Disney World. It's just
it sure is
rapid pace.
It sure is.
For Jen, I am Dave, and don't forget to scare your Phoenicians.
Thank you for listening to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the MSE Podcast, or visit our website at themsepodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe, and may all your wishes come true.